Hey guys, today I'll be talking about how I conduct conversion rate optimization on a website, how I optimize a website to convert more customers, right? One of the things I like to think about when when explaining this to a client and the value of conversion rate optimization is if you're a restaurant, say, and you're doing leaflets and you're doing billboards and you're doing, this and that, and you're doing all these different advertising, you're spending loads of money on advertising, right? But the actual restaurant itself, isn't very nice. The restaurant, staff aren't very nice. The food isn't, as high as quality as it should be. The inside isn't very nice. There's not many reviews, right? That's where you're going to have a problem, right? Because you're actually wasting your money on all this advertising when really your restaurant isn't up to scratch, right? And what's the point in doing advertising, getting all this traffic and getting all these clients to the site or these customers, and then them not wanting to come back, them not eating, not enjoying the experience. So it's the same sort of principle online, right? If you have a website that isn't very nice, hasn't got many reviews, it's hard to navigate through the site. Lots of irrelevant kind of content, not very useful content, images, text, whatever it is, isn't very fast. And you're doing loads of SEO and you're doing loads of social media advertising, whatever it is, and you're taking all of these customers, you're getting all this traffic, all these clients to the site, and they're not having a good experience with the site, you're not going to convert customers, right? Does that make sense? I hope that does, because what it means is the idea is if you're converting customers, you have to be able to have an easy site, you have to have a fast site, you have to be able to optimize the site with clear call to actions, have to be optimized for mobile, desktop, tablet, and I'm going to show you a couple of techniques today on how I do it. I'm going to show you a couple of tools that I use to optimize the site. So yeah, excellent. Before I get into it today, guys, if you do want to if you do want to be updated on the videos and things, I know I have been quite inconsistent lately. A couple of the videos I haven't been uploading as consistently as I usually do. I've been very busy, luckily. So if you do want to be updated and things of that nature, subscribe obviously and join my Facebook group. In addition to that, if you do join my Facebook group, you receive some free resources. You receive a free SEO checklist, you receive a free proposal template, you receive a free site architecture template, you receive a bunch of free resources when you join the group. If you haven't already got them, guys, and you're part of the group, just send me a message and I'll sort you out. So today we'll be going over the first two tools when I start conversion rate optimization, and then we'll be going over how I begin the optimizations, the optimizations so far, the reasonings behind it, and then I'll be going over mobile, desktop, tablet view, and I'll be also going over how I kind of offer some sort of free resource on the site to increase the user engagement and the time on page, as that's becoming more relevant for SEO, and it will become more relevant in the next couple of years for SEO. Time on page, bounce rate, these different things are user engagement metrics. So it's important that we start optimizing for things of that nature. But before we get into that, I'm going to go over conversion rate optimization. So I use two tools, Hotjar and Mockflow. The first tool that I use, Hotjar, is a tool that you can actually implement onto your site to gain data about what your customers are doing on the site, your clients, right? And if you're familiar with the campaign, if you watched a couple of the videos so far, what I usually do is I do a phase one audit, and then I gain a bunch of phase one top issues, and they go over conversion rate optimization, page speed, site architecture, and things of that nature to improve the SEO and improve the rankings. But one of the things that I do go over is how you can actually optimize your site to convert more customers, because this phase one audit is kind of a mixture of SEO and conversion rate optimization, because we are a web design and SEO company in one. So, for example, two call to actions, one paid and one free opt-in, right? What that means is what we do is we actually, at the start of the campaign in month one, is we start off by implementing some Hotjar data, and then we let it kind of marinate over the next couple of months to start gaining data based on what the customers are doing over the next couple of months on the site, right? And I'm going to explain all this in a minute, but one of the things that has been outstanding for the past month is call to action adjustments, right? And actually improving the site itself, right? We've done all the things in terms of SEO, we've ranked the keywords we wanted to rank. Now it's time to actually start improving the site and actually when customers go on there and start converting more customers, right? So as you can see here, I've implemented the Hotjar software on the website. The reason I've done this is to make more database call to action adjustments. So therefore, I'm going to wait for the data to come through before I make any changes, etc. So the idea of Hotjar is you're making database optimizations, right? For example, on Hotjar, you can see what customers are doing, right? Where they're clicking, you can see recordings, you can see where they're clicking on the site. So you can really make database optimizations. For example, right? If multiple customers are clicking on this area of the site, maybe we should take these pages in the drop down, right? And actually maybe put them on the main page down here. Maybe we should put them as like panels, possibly, like what I've already done really, but I'm going to explain this in a minute. Maybe we should put these main pages, these high traffic pages on the main home page to help the user navigate through these main pages, these sites, because 80% of your traffic that goes to the site is only going to a couple of the pages, right? So it's important that you advertise and make sure these pages are easily, the customers can easily navigate through these pages and access these pages easily, right? So it's important that we've added these as a kind of panels on the site in mobile and desktop view, so customers can easily navigate through the site. So there's a good example. What I like to preach is making database optimizations, right? If you have a site and the bounce rate is really high, the time on page is really low, you need to then make some, maybe add a video, whatever it is, to increase that time on page and lower the bounce rate. So it's all about making database optimizations. I'm repeating myself because it's really important. And this is one way you can really, increase that that kind of message, right? To it really say to the client, we really think about making reasonable changes based on the data. We don't just make changes because we believe we believe it's a good idea to make these changes, right? We make them based off of the data. So Hotjar tells us physically, it tells us, by looking visually, where to go, where to put certain buttons, what to do on the site. So there you go. We take the Hotjar data and we make database optimizations, right? But we don't jump straight into the website design just yet. What we do is we make a sketch. We make a sketch of the site on a platform called Mockflow. So we take the Hotjar data and we say, right, we're going to build a kind of design on Mockflow. And you're probably familiar with wireframes and things of that nature if you are a web designer. And what you can do is you can go on Mockflow and you can add like a logo up here. You can add, an address up here. You can add kind of a rough idea of what you're going to do. And if you do use this, you can actually send it to your client for approval before you start designing the site. I usually just use it to get an idea of what I'm going to do. I used to kind of draw down sketches. If I did a web design, I would draw down like a sketch of what I want to do, maybe draw on a whiteboard, still do that, it's kind of, this is how I work. This is what I use. I use Mockflow or Wireframe Pro, and you can actually start building kind of great looking designs. You can go through, click on containers, and you can click on common. You can click on sketchy, scribble text, whatever it is, to give like an idea of what you want to do. And maybe add like a banner down here, possibly add, as you can see here, add quick links to all pages under our services. So that's what we've done. As you can see, that's something that we needed to do based on the Hotjar data. We saw, lots of the customers were clicking on here. So it's possible, it's a good idea to actually add these pages as kind of panels on the site, if that makes sense. So this is what you can use if you are a web designer or you are doing conversion rate optimization, you're adjusting a landing page, whatever it is. You could build this kind of this wireframe on the site, on this kind of whiteboard almost, and then kind of take that and use it as an idea, start building the site, or send it to the client for approval. So that's Mockflow and Hotjar. I'm going to leave a link to both of those tools in the description below, and you'll be able to access them in there. I really recommend you do. I think both of them are free, but they do have limitations. So when we've got this data, what we want to do is we want to start optimizing it on the DUDA platform, right? So we go over to the DUDA site editor, and what I usually do if I'm doing this for a client that already has a site, and I'm conducting conversion rate optimization, I usually duplicate their current site and I optimize from there. So as you can see, if we just go into here and we go preview, and we start comparing what it is. We compare this site to the current site at the moment. So as you can see, this is the current site and this is the new site. So based on the data, right, for example, one of the main things you need to do is to add call to actions above the fold, and I explain this in my free resource. If you haven't already got that, join the Neat crowd. You'll be able to get it in there. But I explain this in my free resource phase 1 SEO audit. As you can see down here, I mentioned that you should have CTA above the fold for the highest traffic pages, right? And you can actually, I say this again, 2 call to actions, 1 paid and 1 free opt-in throughout the site. So it's important that you actually think about this when designing a website and you're doing conversion rate optimization. All the highest traffic pages should have 1 free call to action and 1 paid call to action. So as you can see here, we've got 1 free call to action, 1 paid call to action, 1 free call to action, 1 paid call to action, right? And we have this again in the mobile as well. You know, when you land on the mobile, you've got 1 free call to action and 1 paid call to action, right? And we compare this to, you know, the site currently, you know, there's no sort of call to action there, and we're actually ranking in the local area for this service page. So it's important that we add those call to actions. And if we're going even more in depth, it's important that you add a free call to action and a paid call to action. That could be a free resource, it could be a free depression test, it could be a free service. I would recommend having something like a free service and then having like a free resource as well. We've actually added something like a free depression test, and this is great for obviously qualifying the leads. So people, you know, find out if they've actually got depressive symptoms, and they go, you know, and they begin the test, and they go down and they ask them certain questions and things, and it gives them a unique answer based on their kind of answers, right? Based on the questions to the based on the answers to the questions, right? So after that, what it does is it asks them to schedule a call. So, and that gives them like a free 15-minute call with Khalid, the psychiatrist, the doctor at the Florida TMS clinic. So it's important that you have something like this in place to actually get that client at the top of the funnel, or the first step of the ladder, however you call it, or, you know, to get them in the door by offering something for free of value, right? And I'm considering offering the free depression test and offering maybe like a free resource, a guide to TMS therapy, whatever it is, but that's something that will come at a later date. So currently we've added the call to actions, we've added some great call to actions up here as well. And if you compare that to the current site, we've got 2 call to actions up here, which is nice. However, having something like, you know, call now actually, you know, opens up a FaceTime application, which isn't very useful to the customer. You know, they're not going to want to FaceTime the business, are they? What's useful about having a number is usually in mobile view. Again, we optimize the site for mobile, we optimize it for tablet, and we optimize it for desktop. So having like a phone number up here on a mobile view and they click on that and it calls straight away is really important. Top isn't probably as important, I would say. So yeah, you know, having it on a desktop isn't great. So what we do is we actually add this phone number, and one of the things we're thinking of doing is obviously adding this phone number, so you can whip out your phone and call that number if you are looking on desktop screen, or you can click on that number and it will pop up with a schedule a call maybe, so they can type in their details on desktop. So it's all about optimizing it based on the platform that you're using. And sorry, I think my camera is probably in the way of that free depression test. So if I just make myself smaller, I'll just show you. I'll just show you what it is. So it's a little icon down here. So you've got the free depression test here that you can click on, obviously, or you've got this free icon down here, and they can click on that and start the test like this, begin free depression test, and they can go through and answer the questions. So it's a really neat little platform, a really neat little idea to use as well, because it's relevant. Again, I'm going to talk about this in a minute, about website messaging and how you can market your website based on the customer's, the customer's perspective. But the idea is when you click on this, it actually increases the time on page and it qualifies the leads for Khalid, right? So when he gets on the phone with someone, he already knows that they may be suffering from severe depression. So it also increases the amount of time on page, if I mentioned that, which, because user metrics are becoming more and more predominant in the next couple of years, they will only become more predominant from now on. I mean, page time on page, time on page, engagement. Obviously, links and on page and things are still as important as they are, but I think time on page and engagement and bounce rate and these sort of metrics, we're already starting to see it already, are influencing page rankings. So it's really important that you have something like this in place. And again, I'm going to talk about this now, website messaging as well. A lot of SEOs, they're great at ranking sites, but they aren't as good, obviously, at being marketers, right? And one of the main things about a kind of website and actually adjusting the website messaging in a clever way is thinking from the customer's perspective, right? For this website, say, for example, a customer landing on this site would be thinking from, they're thinking, first of all, finding the right clinic, finding the right person to do the job and help them improve their mental health. And they're also finding out if TMS is right for them. So the whole idea of having this messaging here, is TMS right for you, when they land on the page, is instantly asking them that question and kind of giving them that incentive to navigate to a free depression test and actually qualify them as a target customer, if that makes sense, because Khaled's target audience is people that are suffering from mental illness and in the Tampa Bay area or surrounding areas. So it's important that we have something like this in place. Again, we've added these kind of features up here. There's a new clinic opened in Khaled's local area, so it's important that we actually specify that we are better and we've got a slight edge to the other company that's in the area, and why you should pick us. We are ranking #1 in TMS in our local area, so it's important that when they land on this page, they know that we're the right people to do the job. Again, I've removed all of the royalty-free images to keep it, increase that transparency of the clinic, show clients when they land on the site, this is what the clinic looks like. This is instantly, what the doctor would look like. This is nice to meet, it's almost like meeting Khaled when you land on the website. That's kind of the whole idea. And you know exactly, what it looks like, exactly, how TMS works. With the kind of current site and the kind of royalty-free images, it's almost a bit kind of, when I land on here, I don't really know, if I didn't really know what TMS therapy was, I would have no idea when I land on this site. So it's important that you have some sort of kind of, is TMS right for you? And you kind of you're thinking from the customer's perspective. Again, I'm repeating myself, but it's really important, and it's something that a lot of marketers miss, and a lot of SEOs especially miss, or web designers, thinking, what's the right messaging? What's the right goal? Are we navigating this customer to the right places on the site? So this is kind of what I'm thinking about when I do conversion rate optimizations. So going down, obviously we like to spread out the kind of call to actions, make sure call to actions are, spread out on the page, especially in mobile view as well. In mobile view, everything's a lot longer, so it's important that you keep those call to actions consistent, and more call to actions than here. We've obviously got the panels in here, more call to actions down here. But one of the things I like to do to mix it up a bit when doing call to action, like adding call to actions across the pages, is actually adding banners instead. So as you can see here, I create these like nice little banners in Photoshop or Canva. If you haven't already used them, I'll link them down below, or Canva, the site. It's a really great platform that you can use to add graphics and things of that nature. It's free as well. So what you can do is you can build little graphics like these, like little banners, and you can add them into the site and add them as like a link. So Florida TMS vacation, and they can click on there and they can navigate them to a site. So it's a bit nicer than having obviously standard buttons on the page, having like a banner on the site. I believe I've got another banner on here as well. Are you suffering from depression? Click here to take the free depression test, and it'll pop up with the free depression test, increasing that time on page, increasing that engagement with the site, and qualifying those leads. So the whole idea is just keeping it consistent throughout, obviously keeping the call to actions consistent, keeping the colors and things of that nature. It goes into obviously web design and adding the right things to the right places, really. But I hope I've explained the messaging behind of what I'm doing. explaining the kind of value behind what I'm doing. It's not all about SEO and things of that nature. Once you've done that SEO, it's about how can you actually build the website in a way that will convert customers. And going back to the analogy earlier with the restaurant, how can you improve your restaurant? Going back to the website, how can you improve the page speed? How can you improve the call to actions? How can you adjust the images? How can you, adjust the website messaging? How can you navigate users? Thinking from a customer's perspective, how can you navigate users to the right places, like a free depression test, or asking if TMS is right for them, and actually informing them with videos, informing them with blogs. Obviously we've added blogs to the page now, informing them what TMS therapy is, what it is, what is it really? I mean, considering on the homepage, if I'm a customer landing on this current site, when I scroll down, obviously we've got these features here, which is great, what it kind of tells you about TMS therapy, and it tells you down here. But one of the things I've added now is a blog, a couple of blogs and things, so people can navigate and learn about TMS therapy. They can obviously, read customer testimonials about people that have conducted TMS therapy and they've been a client at the Florida TMS clinic. I've added some more. Obviously, the customer reviews are down here, but we wanted to highlight some of the best reviews up here as well because we've got some really nice ones. So yeah, that's about it really today, guys. If you have any questions, comment down below. I'd like to do some more videos in conversion rate optimization and how you can build websites in a way to actually convert more customers. Again, if you haven't already joined the Facebook group, go and join it. I'll leave some, obviously I'll leave me some kind of comments about the video if you haven't already. And yeah, thank you very much. Cheers, guys.